What's up, everyone? I'm Jordan, and today I wanted to do a review of X-Men 97, Episode 6. I know it came out like 4 days ago, but I was kind of busy and I seen it in the middle of the night. It was like 2 in the morning, so, and then yesterday I was doing a bunch of stuff. But anyway, so this episode's title is Life, Death, Part 2. So it's a continuation of the episode where we see Storm and Forge together, and he's trying to get her powers back. And so I'm gonna say that after episode 5, I really want them to just continue that story right where it picked up, but they jumped back to two different stories in this episode. We finally get to see what's going on with Professor Xavier, and we get to see the culmination of the life death story arc with Storm and Forge. One thing I noticed, which I don't usually notice, like things like this, I see a lot of people do them in videos and stuff, like Easter eggs. But I did notice that in the Marvel logo scene where they showed different things from Marvel, they were showing scenes from Marvel animation, and they showed the Thing from, I guess that was from the Spider-Man animated show. There was an episode where the Thing was in it. That's why I'm guessing that's where that was from. But I just noticed that, and I didn't notice that before because usually I'm not even paying attention to the logo screen. So the episode begins with a space battle between the Kree and the Shi'ar. We see the Kree are using some type of gravity weapon against the Shi'ar ships and stuff. Ronan the Accuser is leading the Kree forces. So in the beginning, they seem to be like winning a little, and then Deathbird infiltrates his ship, and the Imperial Guard also infiltrates his ship. So Deathbird infiltrates first, and then from the hangar, and then the Imperial Guard just blasts through the wall on the other side with a Gladiator. And I don't actually remember the names of the rest of the Imperial Guard. I don't remember seeing them that much in the comics, and if I did have them in some of the comics, it might have been in a few of them, but I just remember Deathbird and Gladiator. So we see Ronan he's in there. We see once Deathbird is in there, we see Ronan telling the Kree not to surrender. Like, he says this pigeon, something along the lines of this pigeon won't stop the will of the Supreme Intelligence. And so he's about to get into a fight with Deathbird, but that's when Gladiator comes in, hits him with the one-hitter quitter, and he's laid out. And Deathbird, she says he should be happy. When she steps on his head, she said he should be happy to be the corpse that she poses upon, which I thought was cool. I think Deathbird had a lot of cool lines in this episode. I know she's not really a character. She's an evil character, kind of. In the original series, she did team up with Apocalypse. But still, this is interrupted by a messenger telling them that Lilandra has a message. So then we see the message. She's talking to, I'm guessing that would be like just the noble Shi'ar. I don't know. I don't remember what they were calling them. And they were all there, and she's telling them just about Professor Xavier. She's like, "Oh, remember him, and he helped us. He stopped my brother. He stopped the Phoenix too, the Dark Phoenix also." And so that's when she lets them all know that she's planning on marrying Professor Xavier, and he's going to be the Emperor. So, so she doesn't see a problem with it. A lot of the people, you could see on their faces, they don't like it. And Charles talks about that, and she's like, "Oh no, I told them, I already explained to them that you're no ordinary Terran, which is an Earthling, And now they're planning their honeymoon, kind of. Well, Charles brings up that on Earth you go to honeymoons, and she's like, "Oh, perhaps a beach on Earth," because she knows that he's trying to like convince her, and she's like, oh, you need to work on your manipulation skills. But she doesn't say it in like a rude way. She's like, entertained by him. She smiles and laughs about it and stuff. And she's saying, oh, do you want to, I bet you want to see your children again. And he's like, yeah. She's saying, invite them to the wedding, so pretty much that's what's going on. Then we cut back to Storm and Forge. She's trying to get him to drink water because he has this he was bitten by the adversary, and that's causing like a purple like infection to spread across his body. They're just describing it as a demonic infection or whatever. And so this episode jumps back and forth between these two storylines the whole episode. I probably won't jump back and forth like that because it's gonna make it hard for me to keep everything in order. Did this happen after they jumped the first jump or the second? So but the adversary is taunting Storm while she's trying to help him, telling her, let him die. He's the one that took your powers. The weapon he created took your powers and stuff like that. So then we see that when Charles is presented, that's the last time I'm going to jump over, just to show that all of the things that's happening in this episode is supposed to be happening at the same time. So when Deathbird returns to say that Charles can't, he's a human, a lowly human, and she said he did say that, maybe he did tell Lilandra, maybe you could rule from Earth for a little bit, sometimes, but it ended up being that Deathbird comes in to the whole assembly area that they're in, and she says Charles isn't worthy. She calls Earth the Milky Way ghetto, which I thought was funny. And then they're going back and forth, and it's obvious that she wants to try to take Lilandra's throne and use this as an excuse for it. And so Charles is like, I didn't think you would say the quiet part out loud. And then she says that back to him when he says something else, I guess saying there's nothing wrong with Earth and blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, so you do want to go back to Earth. So I kind of was like, I don't know how much I like them using that phrase. I did like the Milky Way ghetto, but saying the quiet part out loud is I don't know if it was too contemporary. People didn't say that in 1997, as far as I know. But so it kind of took me out of the episode a little bit. Although I know in comics and stuff, they always say reference current phrases or whatever. I felt I just started hearing people say that a couple months ago. Although it is a concept, the phrasing of that, kind of threw me off. But so I was I don't know if I it was funny to me and true, but also kind of threw me off a little. So she's saying that, so Deathbird basically says Charles can only be emperor if he agrees to have his mind wiped and his memories of Earth and the X-Men wiped. And so Lilandra's he's a powerful psychopath, I was about to say psychopath, telepath. And so she's it's hard to wipe his mind, but, Deathbird is but so are you, and you could do it. So Charles agrees to this. And so we see later when they're wiping his mind, he's all right, I'll forget about Earth, blah, blah, blah. But once she gets will you forget about the X-Men? He pauses and she's I told you, and she walks in while Deathbird walks in while Lilandra is doing this, and she walks in with her soldiers, and then Gladiator is of course going to protect Lilandra because basically Deathbird is just take them both out, kind of. Charles tries to stop it all, and so he ends up taking Deathbird, Lilandra, Gladiator, and one of the guys that was on, I don't remember his name, but he was on the council of the Shi'ar or whatever, a couple of them, to the astral plane in a classroom. So that's when he's saying he forgot his greatest power. He wasn't talking about his telepathic abilities. He was talking about his skills as a teacher. So he's teaching them about how they were conquerors, the Shi'ar, and they're taking over races and different things. And he's explaining all of this, and they're coming along to his way of thinking, but they're like, we wouldn't even be able to convince our people either way, And there's a few, like, oh, Deathbird tries to interrupt, and he like like throws, like, with telekinesis, throws an apple into her mouth. It's like, oh, raise your hand or whatever. So then back with Storm and Forge. Storm is getting attacked by the adversary. She's claustrophobic, and the adversary has her in a coffin and doing all these things. Forge comes with a magic book, and he banishes the adversary. But he's not getting any better, and then he tells her that there's an herb that's in the mountain that can cure him, that his mom used to know. And the magic book, I guess, was his mother's book. She wants to go alone, but he says he'll go with her. And when they get inside, you see that to get to the herb, you have to climb through a tunnel and then climb up. And it's a really thin tunnel. That's why he was saying, oh, he wanted to come with her. But she's like, you can't climb through there. So he ends up climbing through there. The adversary taunts her. She's like, oh, accept the lie. And Storm's like, no, I won't accept the lie. Long story short, she grabs the thing. She gets her powers back. She's flying all around, like Superman when he first flew, and they said that was actually the inspiration for that scene. She's flying all around and everything. Of course, the epic scene where she's like, oh, let there be thunder, and all the lightning comes down. Because she said that, oh, the humans are going to attack you with thunderous power, and she's like, let them thunder because I am lightning. And you see the lightning come down for the sky. That's when she gets her powers, starts flying around. When this was happening, though, I'm like, he's still dying. So you go on this flight. She's like flying all around, tornadoes, like having fun. And I'm like, he's still dying. Like, just bring him that flower and dingo on your flight, So that's how she gets her powers back. So then we cut back to Professor Xavier. He's teaching them. And, they're coming along. And then he says, we're all children of the atom. And the globe next to him on the deck starts to spin and then burst into flames. And he's like, no, what's going on? And then we see a giant image of Gambit. And this was something that a lot of people use for their thumbnails on the YouTube videos, which I didn't watch the videos before the episode, but I saw the thumbnails and that reminded me to watch the episode. I was like, oh, shit, I forgot, So, yeah, so that made me think Gambit was coming back already. I'm like, Gambit's back. He just died. He didn't come back. This was a vision for Professor Xavier. And the image of Gambit turns into a skeleton, and he realizes, he gets the images of everything that happened in Genosha. He's like, no, it literally makes him collapse. He stands in this episode because he's wearing Shi'ar armor. Forgot to mention that. But in the astral plane, he could always stand because it's not a physical plane. So anyway, he falls to the ground, and then the Shi'ar and everyone are back where they were. And they're like, Charles, what's going on? That's when he tells her, he's like, I have to go back. While we were having a star-crossed love affair, my children were in danger. They were getting slaughtered, and I wasn't there to help them. He's like, I have to go back, and if that means losing their love, then so be it. Like, I got to go back to where I belong. Back on Earth with Storm and Forge, we see now that Forge, she got her powers back. She's cured Forge with the herbs that just laying there, and they're talking in the room. She actually is not laying there. She's like standing up doing something else. I don't remember. But he's like laying in bed, still recovering a little. And they're like planning, maybe we should go here, go there, And he turns on the TV. And that's when they find out about what happened in Genosha. And they're shocked also. So in the next episode, we'll be going back to they're all X-Men, but to the other part of the team to pick up on what happened after the scene where Scott and everyone finds out what happens in Genosha, and we'll also pick up with what the people that's still alive in Genosha, everyone that didn't get wrecked, that's still alive in Genosha. So overall, I'll say the episode was, I'll give it a 7. It wasn't from when you're coming from the last episode and how epic that was, this was nowhere near that, but it was good. I like seeing what was going on with Professor Xavier, seeing, You know, I like space stories of Marvel. You know, galactic stuff. Also with the Shi'ar and the Kree and all of that. So I'll give the episode a 7. It was a pretty good episode, but it wasn't nothing like episode 5. So that's it for my review of the episode. Hope everyone has a good day, good week until next time. Have a good time.